Okay? When it comes to teaching plan, okay, now I would like you to look at the screen together. Some of you may feel like, why it is so simple? Some of you may feel like, what? I have never seen something like this before. Or some of you may feel that, it is similar to what I'm doing now. Okay? Whichever thought that you have in your mind now is right. It is correct. Okay? But then, since we are to teach learners of English or maybe other subjects as well, but now we are focusing on English, right? We have to prepare, right? So there are 3 stages here. The first one, pre. The second one is wire. And the third one is post or PPP, okay, for short. For preparation for the first stage, to me, it is very, very important. Otherwise, you will have no directions, as I mentioned earlier on, right? And the second phase is presentation or practice, okay? And the last one is post, okay? Now, what's to do with the preparation? Do you have any direct experience to share with your friends? Or do you have any preparation techniques used by yourself or have been used by yourself or by your teaching communities at your school before? Just think about that, okay? If you have no idea about this, I have, okay, something to share with you. Right. Let me get back to this important question, okay? In order to communicate effectively, what cannot be missed or disregarded? Okay, let me repeat this again. In order to communicate effectively, what cannot be missed or disregarded? You see, it's a very important question. Can you think of any answers? Okay, if not, I'll show you. Right, so congratulations to those who have answered correctly or maybe in the same direction as me here, okay? So the thing that you should not miss is vocabulary. And some people may think that grammar as well, John. Okay, I include both of them here. Vocabulary and grammar. These 2 points must be seriously considered. Why? Please consider this statement from David A. Wilkins. This person put it this way. Without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Again, without grammar, very little can be conveyed. But without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. So the base of the communication purpose is to know words, right? The vocabulary, right? You should know how to say like eat. You should know how to say hungry. Or you should know at least basic words. Why? So that people can know what you are talking about, right? And only vocabulary is not enough because in reality you have to talk, right? You have to write in a longer statement. So it means that you have to consider both things, right? Vocabulary and grammar. Now, having realized the importance of English language, now it's our job, right, to ensure that the learners be exposed to English. Let me emphasize this word, being exposed to English. It means that the learners should be introduced to English words, sentences, and everything or any aspects at all related to English language. All right? We have to make sure that English is everywhere or almost everywhere in front of our learners' eyes, or maybe they can listen, they can hear, they can read, okay, as frequently as possible. Right. As you can see on the screen, okay, English language exposure and experience, okay, well, they are very important, of course. But then how do we apply this notion to our practice? Okay, let's consider vocabulary and, of course, grammar. these two elements of language, okay, should cover all four skills. The first one is listening, speaking, reading, writing. It means that the vocabulary and the grammar, the target words particularly, the target language structure should be presented in listening skills, in speaking skill, in reading skill, and in writing skill activities. Okay, now we're gonna move to the next one. Right, so how to do it? Let's consider this. Integration. This word is vital, is important, okay? By integration, I do mean that you have to consider two things here. The first one is local context. The second one is global context, okay? Imagining that you are working at your school in a very rural area, for example, and then you have no materials, the commercial ones, for example, or the school has not enough funding for you to buy like commercial textbooks. Let's say the internet access is very limited as well in your area. So you have to consider the local context, okay? But for those who are working in cities, for example, or maybe you are comfortable with buying some commercial texts or materials to be used in your classroom, you may be directed to global context as well. By global context, let me give you more examples. Like you may find videos about England, about Canada, or about other areas outside Thailand, okay? But for local context, let me put it this way. Since, for example, you have no access to internet, it's very difficult, right, for you to download good videos in English to be used in your classroom. You may have to create your own, right? Maybe a story. But then, if you can combine these tools together, then it will be a good integration. When you combine things together, it will become global context. It means that you can represent your community, your village, or activities done by local people in, for example, in Mahasarakam, in Gosampi district, or any local district, local areas at all, okay, in your area. But then the context is local, right? You should use English as the medium in order to make it more global. So when you combine things like local and global stuff together, you will have a new text, a new materials, right, for your learners of English. So I would call this global context. And I would really encourage you to consider this one, because you don't have to worry too much about commercial textbooks or expensive materials available maybe online, but then you have to pay, or by certain publishers. You don't have to worry about that much. In order to create your global context successfully, you have to use your creativity, your imagination, your effort, and of course your clear communication with your schools, with your principals, with your team, right? I believe that you have heard the word PLC, right, before, or maybe PLT, right? So make use of this. Now, what to do next? Or what's next? Well, I have given you a good idea, maybe a good idea here, like just an idea though, okay? For example, when you have content in your local area, and then you have to think about designing your own materials, let's start with one unit first, okay? Like on the screen here, I am giving you some examples, okay? For example, if you design one unit or one lesson or one module for your English class, you would like to teach the learners these three words as a vocabulary, like big, large, enormous. As you know that these three words have, similar meaning, right? Or the same meaning. They are synonyms, right? big, large, enormous. Okay, that's the vocabulary. But for grammar, you would like to teach the learners about it is, they are, there is, or they are. You see, that's certain patterns, or the target patterns, let's say. Or for listening, you have to create your own script. You have to write the script by yourself. Okay? Don't worry about the commercial text or the ones available online. Okay? I would urge you to create your own script here, right? But this script should contain target words. What are the target words? Well, big, large, enormous, or it is, they are, there is, they are, right? Now, when it comes to speaking, what should you do? Of course, you have to create your own dialogues, your conversations. You don't have to worry about, taking some dialogues available online from Google, from YouTube. No, you have to use your ability, right? You create the dialogues or the conversation up, right? Dialogue, those dialogues must contain target words again, okay? Maybe student A talking with the teacher, as you, for example, and then in the conversation, you may insert the words like big, large, enormous, and the structures like it is, they are, there is, they are in the conversations, you see? And then when it comes to reading, the text needs to be written by yourself. And then of course, when you produce any piece of materials at all, those pieces of materials must be discussed, right? Must be evaluated by people in your company. Maybe you have a team of teachers, right, in your school. Then you can use that PLC or PLT, stuff. You see? Now, for the text written by yourself, remember that you have to include those target words. Big, large, enormous, it is, they are, there is, they are, right? And for writing, the task that you design for your learners of English in the classroom must require the use of target words. Okay? The activities there designed for your learners must require the learner to use those target words, big, large, enormous, and some certain grammar patterns like it is, they are, there is, they are. And by all these, you will see that you have tried utmost in order to expose the learners to English, particularly to certain groups of words, in particular the grammar pattern. You see, when they read, they see those words. When they listen, they hear those words. When they speak, they use those words. Right? When they write, they again produce their text by using those target words. You see, all these elements, once they are combined, it will make your module, your lesson, or your unit very functional. It is very effective and it is very powerful in terms of encouraging the learners to be able to use the language or the target words in the real context, and particularly in your own setting. All right?